In our editorial segment this week, we welcome Dr. Olivia Rose, author and applied sports psychologist, to share insight into a post-championship adjustment for athletes and support staff. Thank you so much, Dr. Rose, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Go right ahead. We're excited to hear your perspective.
So regarding post-championship adjustments for athletes and support staff, it's very important that we have this discussion because of the emotional drop that many athletes and support staff face, whether they medaled or did not medal, and even the adjustment that the support staff have to make in terms of this huge emotional drop, moving from having something to do almost every day, the buzz of activities, and then not having anything to do, and on routine days that are not planned, and just having to adjust to what's next. Especially for those athletes who probably were preparing for a championship or even the World Cup that they World Cup and the Olympics, because it's not just track and field athletes who experience this, but once you have competed at the top level and you are now faced with the return home with or without a medal, there are lots of transitions that athletes and support staff have to go through. Sometimes, unfortunately, the transition is not as smooth as we'd like it, and they may experience depression or depressive symptoms, which really need further assistance. So it's very important for us to be more understanding and facilitative of this, of the experiences that they may have. Be kind and considerate to them, especially those who did not medal, including those who medal, because actually research has shown that 24% of Olympians actually experience depression after Olympics and after major world championships and so on. So it's important for us to pay close attention to them immediately after they return and try to encourage them as much as possible.
Dr. Rose, you mentioned something that I wanted to dig into a little bit more, and that has to do with the athletes who didn't medal, didn't get, set, they were hyped up to go. You would have done your work about thinking positively and visioning and all of the things that go into getting them prepared for competition, and then they don't win a medal. Coming home, coming back, what does the support look like for that athlete?
Well, if they have to return to a country called Jamaica, which some of them don't return, by the way, because they train elsewhere, other parts of the world. But if they happen to return here without a medal, it's not a very easy platform for them, and it's not a very easy terrain or environment sometimes because of the impact of social media and just people being totally inconsiderate to how hard they would have prepared, as you just mentioned, both mentally and physically, and did not achieve their goal. So I usually say to people, don't think that you want to win more than an athlete. You're not out there training every morning, every evening. So when they really don't achieve their goals, it's not because they deliberately didn't want to. Many things happen, including injury and just performance anxiety that they were not able to control on the day when it matters the most, and many other things. So the environment that some of them return to is not the most welcoming. I have found, based on research that I am completing now, that Jamaicans and the Jamaican culture is a little bit more welcoming to the junior athletes when they don't medal, but for the seniors, they really get it a lot in terms of negative comments, just a negative environment, and people not being kind to them because they did not achieve their goal.
In this age of social media, Doc, how would you encourage athletes to really manage, in terms of even their own consumption of what persons are saying online about them? What would be your advice to athletes to manage your social media platforms?
Well, regarding social media platforms, I would say to the athlete that you have to be very mindful of what you post, how frequently you post, and how much you check comments, especially during critical times in your career. because you need the social media platform, especially if you have endorsements and so on. But you need to check, you need to make sure that you have control of how frequently you check your social media, especially the comment section when you're about to compete or during a tournament.
I know there was one particular situation the other day that a lot of people were concerned about, myself included. Chilean's
Mhm.
Fraser Price came out and spoke about it. And it was the 100 meters at the World Championship where one of our athletes was blamed for Jamaica not getting the gold. And she later, closed her accounts, and I think she left social media. What do you say to the nation in situations like that one? And we heard Asafa again intervening on behalf of Johan Blake. So clearly, there's a huge amount of pressure. What is your message to the nation in respect of our athletes when they don't perform the way we would have liked?
The message is gonna be, let's be more considerate. Let's encourage top performance, yes, and encourage athletes to give up their best. But also, let's be mindful that there are many other factors that can prevent them from achieving a goal. So let's be considerate, not just cushion them because they didn't perform well and embrace them when they really didn't do well, but to provide an environment that is less critical and more compassionate. It's not that if you're gonna say, okay, you did well when you came eighth. Well, actually, you did well because you came eighth in the world. It all depends on a whole lot of things, but it is also from this competitive and pressuring social environment that our athletes are able to perform at their best. But we still need to, I think, at this stage, kind of ease up on some of the pressure and the remarks that you give to an athlete, especially when they did not achieve their goals.
And as you mentioned, a country like Jamaica, public expectation and the very high bar we set for our athletes in different sporting arena, do you find that it's more helpful or harmful?
It's both. It also depends on how the individual athlete is able to appraise what's happening and make the most of it, because again, as I said, it is from this competitive environment and very pressuring, and the expectations that every athlete, once they wear the Jamaican colors, they are very aware of. That is already, it's very clear to them what they are expected to do. In fact, we have a very strong culture of winning. We do not comprehend second, we do not comprehend third very well. So all athletes who compete for us, it's an automatic code, it's an automatic feeling. They know what they are expected to do. However, it doesn't happen all the time. So it is from this same culture that you're able to have the best in the world, and sometimes from this very same culture that you really break and cause people to feel less than human when they're out there representing you.
Dr. Olivia Rose, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you so much for having
this
me.
much wisdom with us, and I hope we're listening.